most people today, there's a paradigm that kind of exists out there that you earn whatever that earning is, and then you consume, you spend. And today things are very expensive, so it's not easy to save, right? But our culture here in this country has always been spend up to your income.
Hermana, vivir tu vida, yo te incito. Dinero, calma, lujo y un cafecito. De abundancia y orden, yo te saturo. Vamos a hablar sin filtro. Bienvenidos a Oro Puro.
Welcome to another episode of Pure Life, Life Without Filter. I want to start, like always, saying thank you to everyone who has been giving me some like, subscribe, sharing, comment, all the content that I've been posting on social media. Today, I'm joined by someone who is bringing clarity, calm, some deep conversation about money, and is also a director of investment and leader of the private client group. It's called Strategies for Wealth. So, welcome, Scott Kaplan.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm really happy to have you. It was hard. I'm not gonna go deeper with that, but it was hard today, right?
Yeah, sometimes relying on technology to get from one place to the other.
Not easy. Technology is something you place in your favor, some others.
And that's what happened today.
But anyways, let's start with the first question that I asked everybody who has been joining me in the podcast. Who is Scott beyond all your titles, your financial advisor, beyond everything that is socially accepted?
Dad first, friend, colleague. I try to be a drummer.
I didn't see that coming.
Actually, that was probably the longest thing that I've done in my life.
Really?
Yeah, I've been playing the drums since I was 7 years old.
Oh my God, did you watch this movie? What was the name?
I know the one you're talking about. Well, there's been several movies about drums, but yeah.
There is one now on Netflix that is going, has been blowing up.
I know the one you're talking about. I don't think I saw it, though.
It's a good one.
I will watch it.
Go deeper. Sorry.
On your recommendation. Right. So, I think of myself as a real person, not focused on any one thing, but I try to, experience life as it comes. And I really take my role as dad first very, very seriously. Although my youngest is 21 and about to graduate college. So
wow.
I think I did a pretty decent job there. That's who I am.
I like that you don't label yourself. I like because most of the people is gonna see a financial advisor, like a serious person. Like when I met you, I was like, he doesn't have the profile
Is
everybody
that a good thing
thinks.
or a bad thing?
Actually, it's a good thing.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like labels because I think we, as a human being, we can be so many things. Not just financial advisor and drummer. My case, I was a professional basketball player. I'm a coach now. I work here, and then I help people with the financials too. So I like that.
A Renaissance woman.
Exactly. And now, but let's get to your background now.
Sure.
Because what do you study? How did you get into this world?
So what I studied in undergraduate was very different than what I wound up doing in life. I studied business communications and information systems. So it was a little bit of a path that got me from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
Once you graduate from college, it doesn't really matter what you studied. It's more about the life experiences and what you're passionate about moving forward that hopefully you get to experience, right? The job that you ultimately wind up in. But for years, I worked in a plumbing supply business that was owned by my dad.
How many lives have you lived?
Several. Yeah. We'll talk about that. I was a musician early on, and I really tried to make it. I was in a really good band, and like most, it doesn't really work out in
Yeah.
your favor. It was a lot of fun, but also a challenge.
Yeah.
So then I had to figure out a way to earn a living, and I pivoted and went to work with my dad and grew his business. And ultimately, the family still owns that business, and my brothers are both in it. And then I knew that was not what I really wanted to do for the rest of my life, but it was a nice pivot point.
Yeah.
And then after that, I, believe it or not, as a second, almost third career, I went back to school, and I became a chiropractor.
No way.
I did. I graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic in Davenport, Iowa. So this is a kid from Brooklyn, New York, wound up living in the middle of Iowa. Yeah, it was
Wow.
it was a great experience. But
such
it was
a
pretty
pivot.
crazy. I never really had intention of becoming a chiropractor. I really wanted to do it because I had an opportunity to go into business with somebody
Okay.
and grow their business in a meaningful way, but I had to have a license to be able to do it.
Okay.
So I did, and it was awesome. It was a great experience going through school, learning so many things about humanity, the body, the way the mind works, the way the mind actually has an impact on the body itself, and that you hold all of these little experiences with you no matter where you go, and no matter what you're doing. So you can always kind of come back and equate your current circumstances to what you've done. So I did the chiropractic thing. I went into business with somebody, and I did that for a while, up until 2001.
Okay.
9/11 was a pretty serious event. And I remember driving down the west side of Manhattan. My two kids at home were and I have twins, my oldest are twins, and they were in their infant carriers. And as I said goodbye, and I just remember, that morning was pretty serious here in New York,
Yeah.
right? Listening to the radio, and I was listening to Howard Stern at the time, and he was talking about, a small plane going into the Trade Center, and it didn't sound like it was that serious until it was. Pretty devastating. So ultimately, figured out a way to turn around and got back home, and I'll tell you, I was like, I don't want to have to go into the city every day, and I was going into Brooklyn at that particular time. I just this is not necessarily the path that I would have chosen for myself at this point. And I took a half a step back, and I had been approached by a gentleman. His name is Alan Lerner. He was looking to be my financial advisor. And he always, in a roundabout way, was talking about, I think you would be great in this business. I think you and I would work well together as sort of a team. And at first I was like, I don't know if I wanted to enter into this world. But ultimately, after that experience, I wanted to stay close to home. I wasn't really passionate about what I was doing. So then I kind of took that step back and I said, you know what? Let me try. Let me understand more about it. And then I went down this path, and that was 2001 in October. I made that commitment to start working with them, and it's been a nice run since.
So that's the moment that you start in the financial world.
That's right.
And how do you get to it through them, and you start working on their company, or?
Well, he and I formed this little team under an umbrella of the company that we're still with. So the company itself is the Guardian Insurance Company. And then under the Guardian Insurance Company, they own a couple of, one is called an RIA, a Registered Investment Company.
Yeah.
And that's called Park Avenue Securities. So they own it's called a broker-dealer and an RIA together. And so I'm a registered representative of Park Avenue Securities and a financial representative of the Guardian. That's the way it kind of works. But you got to get licensed.
Yeah.
You got to study. You have to understand what it is that exists in the world today to be able to provide information to the people that need that information.
100% is true, because it's a lot of people on social media. This is something that I talk a lot. I have my background and I had everything that I study is back in Chile. So when I moved here, I did so many different things and I pivot a lot. Because my idea was never, for example, I was playing basketball there, studying, and then also working. Because if you want to be a pro basketball player in Chile, as a woman, you can live.
You're not making a lot of money.
Exactly. And it's really important. And most of us, we're trying to, it's not romantic. It's like you wanted to do it, but at what cost? So for me, it was always, I got to get ready. I'm going to prepare myself. And I used all my basketball skills to pay my college. I never pay for that. That's why great. I study so much. I was like, I did I did my college, and then I did, how do you call it here when you do after college your post-grade, your post-certificate? And then I did an MBA.
Master's?
Like a master, but my master was actually after another year of study that I did.
So postgraduate study.
Postgraduate study. And then my MBA, is about finances.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
So all that I did was because I couldn't play basketball. And it becomes like, okay, let's pivot a little bit and let's try another things.
Yeah, I don't see it as a pivot in my world. I kind of see it as a linear projection, because every experience I've had has actually led to something bigger and better for me. And it's taken that experience that I had to be able to move to this one, right? Because if I wasn't in this position, I would have never met this person. This person influenced me in this way, and I was able to ask the right questions and then find myself in a position to take advantage of another opportunity. So, I look at it as a linear path. Life is not a one-way street, right? You have to be able to be open to experiences and know that there is always something else out there, as long as you're open to receiving and open to seeking.
I like that you said that, because most of the people talk about luck, and I don't believe in luck. I believe that if you're prepared, you will see the opportunity coming for you, and that is the moment that luck happen.
Absolutely agree. We make our own luck in per se, right? By putting yourself in the right position, like you were a basketball player, right? So if you're at the post, right, with your hands up, right,
you're right there.
You're right there.
In what moment did you start? Like, did you start with investments, or was in another path at the beginning?
So at the very beginning, because I'm a very curious person, right? I ask a lot of questions before I feel like I'm even confident enough to make some suggestions. So I worked with through the firm, I worked with an economist through this program that the firm afforded me. And a year of just working with this guy, asking him tons of questions, listening to him, how he treats his clients, how he was able to take in a tremendous amount of data and then formulate, a plan for individuals moving forward. So I really did that first, before I even stepped out and started meeting people and started finding out about what their circumstances were. So I was really more of an observer first, and then working with Alan as a team, he would talk to people about certain subjects. And what I found myself was actually going back to my earliest of days. And I'm talking about like 6th grade for me. Okay?
Just right after the corner.
That's right. So my grandfather was a very, very prominent individual in my life. And he was a pretty astute guy. He was an immigrant who came here in the mid-40s after the war. And he literally pushed a push cart full of fruit just to make a living. And he had a wife and a couple of kids, and it was a struggle for them early. But he learned a way to utilize the stock market to make a couple of bucks. And he invested not only for himself, but he helped my folks out. He helped his other kids out, his other kid out. And ultimately, he shared that experience with me very early. And I looked at that, didn't really think much of it at the time because it was just what it was. But then when I came into this business, understanding that experience, I just went right back to that. So it was almost organic for me to be more involved on the investment side of our business. And that's what I navigated to, and that's where I stayed predominantly over the last 25 years.
I'll say that most of the people is more worried about how much they spend that how can I invest the money that I have. Like most of the people see is worried about pities. They're worried about pities. Like they don't ask themselves like how can I make more money or how can I make my money work for myself, right? So in terms of stock market, you are more like a high risk person or a long term player.
So you can look at it at both ways, but let's take it the first thing. So yeah, most people today, there's a paradigm that kind of exists out there that you earn whatever that earning is, and then you consume, you spend. And today things are very expensive, so it's not easy to save, right? But our culture here in this country has always been spend up to your income. And it's a challenge, right, to save. What we've been trying to do at our firm for decades is really to flip the paradigm. So really save first, right? So the old adage is, you pay yourself first. And the higher that you pay yourself first in terms of saving provides some longer term security, right? So you have to start as early as you can to flip that switch to say, I'm going to save first before I spend, because we've seen it. You earn $1,000, you spend $999. Then 2 years later, you're earning $2,000, and then you're spending $1,999, right? So you're growing expenses as your income grows. We try to help people stop that, get off that wheel. With regards to my personal philosophy of investing, it really comes down to, first, you have to understand the circumstances that the people are in, right? Because it's not one size fits all. It's really about what it is that you are concerned about, what obligations you create for yourself, and then we can start talking about how to deploy the capital, deploy those dollars. But I look at risk in that space as what's happening in the world today, because there are certain circumstances where investing in low risk can actually lead to more risk. So I look at what's happening economically in the world we live in, and then try to align the risk in the markets overall to what the client is actually trying to achieve. A young 23, 24, 25-year-old coming to me, risk is relatively negligible, right? You really can withstand all that volatility that exists in the market, and you're thinking really long term. So if the market goes down and you're still putting money in every month, right, saving, you're buying it at a discount to where it was 2 days ago, and on and on and on. So that level of risk and economic circumstances that we're in, relatively negligible. You want to be more in the equity markets, stock. Mm-hmm. Now, when you're talking about like a 65-year-old who's ready to retire, you have to align the way you invest with the income to make sure that they can achieve the lifestyle that they want to achieve, right? Somebody works for all these years, there has to be a reward. There has to be that, that sense of, oh, I did it, I achieved something. So you want to invest in such a way that they can continue to grow the assets, but also receive the income that they need to live. That's a little bit trickier in a market, but we've been pretty successful at doing that. But again, it's individualized. It's more geared towards who you are, what level of volatility you can stomach, and understanding where you are. And that's kind of the way that I look at things.
3 things that you said that I kept in my mind. One thing is, it's not really the important thing, the risk per se. It's just on the stage that you are to take the risk and how much risk you are willing to take, right? Second thing, everyone has like a individual desire, an individual goal, something that you want for yourself. You can't put everyone on the same bag. Mm-mm. So it's really important what you said about everyone wants something different. Like some of the people, I have talked to one of the people that I work with too. What do you really want? Because we can make a plan based on what you want. I can suggest you what could be better, but if you say that my life plan is to get my dream home, and for me sometimes doesn't make sense, but if it makes you happy, let's work on the plan that is going to make you happy, because by the end of the day, what we want, what everybody wants,
Security,
happiness.
happiness.
So I can give you, like maybe you too, you can give 1,000 advice, right? But by the end of the day, what you really want is what is going to determine the decisions that you are going to lead into, right?
Absolutely. So, one of the questions that I ask the vast majority of my clients is, how do you define success? Right? It's a tough question.
It's a tough question.
You would think so, but all these years I've been compiling these answers, and I can boil it down into one sentence nowadays, and that is the ability to say yes. I want to buy a house. Well, because you've saved, because we've grown these assets, yes, we can find a way for you to buy that dream home that you want. I want to take my kids on vacation. Yes, right? That would be a success in terms of a long-term financial plan, right? So giving somebody the ability to do the things that they want to do when they want to do them. But it's not easy, and it takes discipline on everybody's side,
100%.
right? And it also means that sometimes it's an occasional no. Mm-hmm. No, I shouldn't do that because it's going to, have a long-term negative impact on my ability to say yes. So you have to prioritize, just like you were alluding to, what's really important and is going to make you happy for the longest period of time. Right? You can do something that's going to make you happy today, but are you going to regret it tomorrow?
True.
Are you going to have to rethink that again?
Yeah, it's true. It's also with the question like, do I want this? Do I need this?
Oh, those are great questions.
Those are the questions that I'm all the time talking to my people, like, because my culture, Latino culture, we're consumers too.
Of course.
And because you said at the beginning, like, American people, same thing. You gain and you spend, most likely almost the same. For us, it's more about enjoying the moment. I have realized that a lot of the people is like they like to spend their money with their families in the moment. But
Experiences. Those are great too.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
But what about tomorrow? What about next month?
Right. Well, can you do the experience instead of it being $100? Can you do it at $80?
Exactly. Can you work on a budget? So those are the type of questions, like, they're really important, and there's not a lot of people who has make this pause. And I'm like, do I really want this? This is gonna get me closer or further from my goal, right?
Yeah.
What would it be like an advice that you can give someone that is planning to start to invest? We have different level of investment, right? Let's start with $1,000, and then let's jump to $10,000. And what is the difference with $100,000?
All right. So every individual is going to be unique. And let's just assume that it's a younger person with a very long time horizon.
Younger, let's say 30-something or 20-something.
So it depends. You see, this is where it gets a little tricky. I can ask you
Yes.
tons of questions
Yeah.
around this, right? So if it's a 30-something, are they married or single? Do they have kids? Do they want kids sooner? Those things will impact ultimately. But let's give you some basic generality. When you first start to invest, as long as you have a long enough time horizon, you already have your savings, your emergency fund covered, right? That's important.
Emergency fund, check.
Right. Big time deal. So that one, the next step is that, indexing, buying like an S&P fund or, an S&P and maybe an international fund together, right? That's a good start as long as you have a long enough time horizon with $1,000. And as you add, you can add more to that in particular, but then you can expand outward, right? You can add emerging markets, you can start to add, some ancillary things that are important, like an energy or consumer staples, consumer cyclicals, parts of the S&P or the index, things that make up the index, you can actually start adding more to that. And that's a good way to go with nominal amounts of money, because as you add to it, you can diversify well. And it's very, very tough to beat the indexes, so your returns are going to be market-like. And if you're able to add even a couple of bucks every month from your savings, you're going to do pretty well over time, right? Now, when you get to that next level, you may want to start thinking about some more professional management, right? And the reason why I say that is because the world that we live in is not so fixed, right? What happened in the past rhymes with the future, but it's not always the same. And having some advice as to what is the smart thing for you to put money into at this particular moment may work out better in your favor. We won't know till tomorrow, right? But we've seen that being the case. And having somebody to help in that circumstance mostly is advantageous, because when you get scared and you want to pull out of the market, and a lot of people do that, an advisor will hold your hand and say, it's going to be okay, right? Let's stay where we are at the moment and see how things play out. But more often than not, if you're staying in, things tend to work out better for you in the long run. Okay. Now, when you get up to that next level, and about $100,000 is what you talked about, and if it's after tax money, right, not your 401k or an IRA, you want some management relative to your tax burden. So if you invest on an ongoing basis, remember, you have something called a cost basis. You bought it at $1. Well, at some point down the road, you may want to sell that. Now, maybe it's to buy something else, or maybe it's when you're retired. Now you want the money back, right? When you sell it, you're going to pay taxes on the difference between what you paid and what you're selling it at. And hopefully, especially if it's been a long enough time, that is a pretty sizable gap. So that is a tax burden that you should be able to manage over time. So that's where maybe individual stocks come into play, or bonds, or other vehicles. By managing the tax burden, right, you're ultimately going to raise your basis. And remember, when you're working, if you have to pay some taxes, you have an income to pay it. Not the most beneficial, but you will have some income to pay the taxes, and your basis can go up. So when I do ultimately retire, or I need those dollars back for some obligation that I've created, I pay fewer taxes when I don't have an income to pay it. Follow the...
I'm following you.
Okay, great. So I just want to make sure. A lot of people don't necessarily understand that right off the bat. But once they see that in action, it's a meaningful part. So when you have substantial assets, using individual stocks, why? Because if I have to sell an index fund, I'm selling out of everything, and I don't have an opportunity to harvest just small losses periodically to offset larger gains.
Got it.
Okay, good.
No, we are here in a masterclass. I'm here taking notes. I'm going to record this too.
Right. Well, tax management, when you get up there with bigger dollars, is a big benefit over time.
Mm-hmm. So, two questions that I have. Most of the people don't understand the game or these kind of things because there is not a lot of people that talk about this too. It's something that is not, we don't learn that in school. No. What do you think financial money talk still something like a stigma, something that people don't talk?
Well, they definitely don't talk about it unless they're doing exceptionally well. I remember before the 2008 market crash, people were talking about how the real estate had just doubled in value every year. It just seems like it was going to go up, and it never was going to go down. Prior to that, we had the .com, the entry of the internet into the vernacular of everybody. It was on everybody's mind. You could throw a dart at a dartboard with all these .com stocks and make money on a day-to-day basis. But ultimately, it crashed, right? So people only talk about it when it's convenient to talk about, and they only talk about their wins, not necessarily their losses. And everybody experiences both over time. So,
There's no win without losses.
yeah, it seems to be that way, right? And there's no life experience without both gain and loss.
100%.
Right? So I think my job as an advisor, and I take that role, that specific part of my job, being an advisor, very, very seriously. Because I don't think people should be making decisions without enough information to be able to make an informed decision. Because every piece of advice that I provide somebody, I've done the homework already, so I know what it is. I have all the data to be able to present something. But you have to be able to ask the right questions as the person on the other end to really understand it. Because the more comfortable you are with the decisions that you're going to make, right? I'm making the advice. You're the one who has to say yes. And although I feel responsible, it's your money. Right? The more connected you are to that, the better you're going to feel, the better the decision-making process is going to be. So, there's so much information out there, right? You're providing a lot of information as an individual. People can go online and get information all the time. The hardest part about having all this information is trying to figure out how it equates to my world. How does it make sense in my position today? I have some debt maybe, I have, a decent income, but I have a lot of obligations. How do I make all this information make sense in my world?
For me, and it's something that I always said, there is a principle, really important, individual principle. There is no one like you. Nobody else has your reality. So I can treat you like I treat him or her. It's different. Everyone has a different reality. So what do you do with all this information? How can it fit your reality? It's what makes it different, and it's why it's also important to have someone to guide you on your side, to have an extra pair of eyes, an extra brain, someone who makes the homework before, and someone with more experience too.
And somebody who's willing to really understand who you are as an individual, right?
100%.
There are tons of folks out there that call themselves financial professionals.
Advisor.
Yeah, but they learn a package and they distribute that package to everybody.
Exactly.
It's important to, when you're sitting down with somebody who's advising, that they're getting to know you as an individual. They're getting to know the wants, the desires, how you live your life, how you make your decisions. If you're a couple, do you make them jointly? Is it he? Is it her? Is it they? Is it them? You really have to understand, as an advisor, who you're sitting in front of and how they think, who they want to be, and, what type of advice are they willing to accept?
I believe that once you connect with a human, you connect with that person first, the numbers, the system, they come easy. Once you understand the reality behind the numbers, it comes easier.
We're getting very esoteric.
Right? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But
I agree with you.
true,
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
by the end of the day, like when we talk about money, people think that everything is about money. And actually, I'm trying to connect with the person, because once you understand that, the rest is easier. That is what I think.
I agree.
What is your perception, or what was your perception about money? How you were raised about money? Did you talk about that when you were a little kid or
No.
with your family?
So I did talk about it with my grandfather because he was a small business owner.
Yeah.
And, you know, they would come home, and my dad actually worked for my grandfather, my mom's dad. And because it was a family business, they worked together, and we actually lived in a 2-family house together.
Okay.
So it
That's
was
really Latino. Just let me say something. That's really Latino.
Yeah, well, we were an immigrant family, right? So I mean, this is what it
True.
was, right?
True.
So when they were home, it was always talking about work and money and this and that. So although it wasn't really about savings, it was more about, you know, how do you pay the bills at the end of the
Yeah.
week, right? How do you keep the doors open? But growing up, I grew up in Brooklyn, in Canarsie. It was a very blue collar community. We didn't know what we didn't have, right? So whether we had money or we didn't have money, it didn't really matter as long as we had food on the table. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and we all grew up in a what was a 2.5-bedroom house. So I lived with my siblings, the 3 boys. Lived in one room together. My parents had their room. My sister was born 10 years my junior. She had the half bedroom. So we were really tight. Fortunately, you know, we're still really, really tight together. But I grew up of modest means, you know, and money wasn't really talked about. It wasn't learned in school, as you talked about earlier. And we just lived. Some years were better than others, but we didn't know what we didn't have. So we had a good existence.
I like what you said because it's true. Because when you're young, you're just living, you're happy or you're not happy. But
Yeah.
most of the time, when you have your family, you play games, you don't know what you don't have. I like that. I haven't heard that before.
Okay, well, there you go. Feel free to use that. It's all
you
yours.
You can learn every time something new. There's never late, right?
You know, I remember just, you know, so I was born in the 60s. And the 70s, where I grew up, it was, you know, there was no internet. TV was very, very limited. You only had a couple of channels. So we spent a lot of time outside. And fortunately, I had a lot of friends. And you just walked outside your house and you were able to play on the streets. Stickball, football, whatever it was. We'd stoop ball. We would just be out there. So that was our existence, right? It wasn't that we needed money to do anything, and if we did, maybe it was like bowling or a movie every once in a while. So $5 got you somewhere, you know.
But you know, I grew up in the 90s, and I also get the chance to play outside. So
Right,
I think
you were in that transition.
I was the transition.
Right.
I was the transition.
You grew up
started-
without the internet, and then all of a
Exact.
sudden,
It's a computer
Right.
in the school, and everyone was in the same room trying to use the same computer. So yes, that hyper connectivity that we have right now didn't exist back then. So it was more about human connection than disconnection, like
Agreed.
online connection.
yeah.
I'm gonna give you a break from money.
Oh,
I want to know about watches because I
Okay.
don't know enough, and I know this is something that you love.
I do.
How do you get like drawn to watches? How do you start with that?
So it's funny. Well, I'm gonna actually equate it back to what I do.
Okay.
All right. It's kind of
Let's
like
go
an
back
interesting.
to-
All right. So like this is a piece. This is actually not mine. My brother is also into watches,
Okay.
and
So
this,
you can see this, but this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
We're gonna do like a close up after.
okay. So this he and I we trade every once in a while, and this was his, and I adore it, and I asked him if he would share it with me, and unfortunately he said yeah. So I'm really excited about this one. So if you look at this watch, what you see is there's dozens of little tiny parts.
Millions.
It seems like that at some point, right? But there's tons of parts, and each one of these parts is unique. It's very, very specific. It has one very specific role. By itself, without its interconnectivity, you can't really do anything
Yeah.
with it. I mean, it may look cool and all,
Yeah.
but it's really not much. So when I, as a financial advisor, meet somebody, I come across dozens of things in their world. Individually things that they bought for one particular purpose. it's my job to look at all of these little things,
And connect them.
integrate and coordinate them together to create a defined outcome. Well, that's a watch. It takes hundreds of little parts that, when meticulously put together in perfect alignment, they create not only the beauty, but a very well-defined outcome. So this mechanical piece,
That's really esoteric now.
I know.
Now we're getting esoteric.
Right. So that's really what it was. So I've always loved the mechanical parts. I've always loved the humanity behind creating pieces of art, because that's what they are, right? Anybody can go into a store and buy a quartz watch, a watch that runs on a battery, and so many of them are absolutely beautiful as well. And it took a tremendous amount of engineering to be able to create something like that. But a mechanical watch just strikes a little differently, you know, because of all these various parts, because of the finishing of it all. So I've always just been drawn to it. And, you know, I'll go one little step further, and it may actually be hereditary. And we, unfortunately, you know, my mom recently passed in December. You know, it was hard for us. And when, you know, everything settled down and we're going through all her stuff, just try to get a sense of things. She was a bit of a watch lady.
Really?
Yeah. And, you know, talking to my sister, who they lived together for quite some time, that, you know, every time they would go out shopping or whatever, my mom would be drawn to certain things, of which watches were one of them. And I didn't really know that about her. I always saw a wristwatch on her. She always wore it. And for one of her birthdays, my brothers and I and my sister got together, and we actually gave her a pretty cool watch. So it somehow, I don't know. And even my dad, you know, was just drawn to mechanical and even some quartz watches, and my mom. So I don't know, maybe it was ingrained in me very early on without me even knowing it. It was just something that they did. I didn't really notice.
Yes.
And now, you know, we're going through her stuff and we're finding like all these crazy watches and just a lot of fun pieces. And I'm looking at the old pictures and I'm seeing a watch on her and even my dad's wrist for as far back as I can see.
So you didn't know until you went through her stuff?
Yeah, she knew about my my prowess and my, you know, extensive collection of watches, but she never really, you know, started asking me questions about it. All she would ask me, like, how many?
And you didn't ask her either.
No, because, you know, I try not to project
Okay.
this upon people because it can be a challenge to many. I just remember back, like when I was 10 years old, I saw this one awesome little watch at what turned out to be like a pharmacy. It was like a corner pharmacy, and it was a Casio and a Seiko and stuff. And I bought it, and I had that watch. I still have it today, by the way. I bought it, and it was just awesome. I couldn't take it off.
That was that was your first watch?
Yeah, it was actually that one was a Seiko, and I still have it. It's pretty cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
Will you wish to ask her more question about watches before she passed?
So, you know, a couple of weeks before, you know, when we found out that she wasn't doing so well, we did have a chance to sit down and kind of go through some things around watches and what she found to be interesting. And I shared a couple of my watches with her. We took some wrist shots with her wearing some of my watches, which was really cool and fun. But I think it was more about a fashion / just she enjoyed it, you know, more than anything else. I got really deep into it and really understood the movements, and I'm like very interested in the people behind the movements, you know, what made them try to develop this, and then starting to get into some of the, you know, the design elements, like who are the designers in the watch world. So, you know, once you go down a rabbit hole, if it's really a passion of yours, there's a lot to learn.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm just curious and asking you because usually I see men drawn to this word. So it's weird for me to hear about a woman who was actually into that too.
You know, historically, you're right that men have dominated the space, especially mechanical watches. But I'll tell you, there is a pretty big
Female market too?
100%. They're incredibly passionate about it. They are influencers in their own right. And, you know, looking back throughout, especially in the 70s, there were some amazing looking, really cool watches, 70s and 80s, that were meant probably originally for ladies, but now men are wearing them. And ladies are wearing these other, even bigger pieces than men are wearing today. And it's awesome to see. Because, you know, I don't think it's a men's or a ladies thing.
No.
You wear what you love.
It's true.
Right? You wear what you're passionate about. You wear what you like, and you share it with
Or you
others.
like it or you don't.
That's right.
It's true.
Yeah.
But do you think it's more about like status?
For some, you know, I think some of the, you know, this crypto craze has led to a lot of money floating around out there. And we can see, you know, even past, you know, 2020 when the government, you know, handed out the stimulus money, people spent that on things because experiences weren't an option, right? You couldn't go out. You had to wear a mask. You were 6 feet away from everybody.
Yeah.
So having, you know, travel and experiences was definitely limited. So what did people do is that they went out, and between the crypto increase and stimulus checks from the government, people had free capital, and a lot of them bought status symbols.
Yes.
You know, they were out. If you look,
They
try to
spend.
buy a Rolex, it was insane to get. You couldn't walk into a store and just buy something. It became a very substantial weight, and that increased the hype even more, and then more people got into it. So I think some people buy it for the status.
More strategy versus emotion. Like,
Yeah, well, I think emotions definitely play into it as well, because when you put something on that you worked hard to get, it resonates, right? You're proud, right? It is definitely an emotional response. I think I bought my first real piece, like something that was meaningful to me, that celebrated a milestone. Right?
okay.
So I remember, fortunately, I was given an opportunity to go down to the New York Stock Exchange and be a part of a group that rang the bell.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
nice.
So doing that, I was like, this is momentous
This
in
is
my world.
yeah.
This is, you know, emotionally
Something.
high for me.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, I went out and I bought a watch to commemorate that. You know, that was just one thing. But every time in my life that I had the opportunity and the money and I could afford to do something meaningful, I celebrated it with something that I was passionate about. And more often than not,
It's a watch.
it's a watch.
So how many watch you have till today?
That is not
It's a secret?
a question I am prepared to answer. I have
No, you
definitely
didn't prepare for any
none of that.
question.
No, I definitely have more than one, less than 1 million. So
That's-
somewhere in there, right? But just think about this. I'm 60 years old, and fortunately, I have had lots of milestones.
Okay. Okay. So that's a lot of celebrations and watches around. So you know what, Scott, I have enjoyed really much our talk, and I have a little gift for you. And you didn't see it because you didn't see my document that I prepared for you, but this is for you. This is from our Chili Shades brand or sunglasses brand. People already know there. This is our sponsor for the podcast. You can open it. For
Wow.
every pair that you buy online, you get a 10%. We donate 10% for a non-profit organization that cleans the beach here in Long Island.
Thank
so
you
you can open
much.
it. Let me see how it looks on you.
Oh wow, very cool.
That model is called Outer Banks. So you're gonna look like Tony Stark probably. Try them
Tony
out.
Stark. I love it. Oh wow, like a blue light.
Yeah, you like it?
I love it.
It looks cool on you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm enjoying it. Wow.
And
I was not expecting this, so
I
thank
know
you so
you
much.
weren't expecting anything from
I
today.
was not. I was not.
Now you have with that sunglasses on, right?
I do.
have a dynamic for you.
Oh, okay.
It's called
'em on?
Keep it on.
All right.
It's called rapid fire.
Okay.
So the first thing, your first thought
You got it.
after the thing that I'm gonna say, one financial habit that everyone should have:
Save first.
save
First.
100%. Biggest money misconception.
So that's a challenge. The biggest money conception is that you have to achieve a dollar amount to be able to live the life you want. You don't necessarily always have to preserve the principle to live the life you want to lead. You should have the permission to be able to spend down that which you earn, but that takes strategy.
Yeah, I agree. A rule that you live by.
An occasional yes, I'm going to say an
Occasional
occasional no leads to a lifetime of yes.
Ooh, I like that one.
Good.
Best advice you have ever received.
Besides that one I just gave
Yes.
you. Okay. So pursue your passions, but to thine own self be true. Don't allow influencers to influence your ultimate decisions. Do your own homework.
True. Do your own homework. I always say that. Please do your homework. And the last one is, what does live in pure gold means to you?
Live in pure goal. Well, I think if you state your long-term goals, write them down, and look at them often, you'll ultimately manifest that destiny.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
We hope.
I agree with that. I like manifesting, but I also like to do the work. There is no one without the other one.
Agreed.
Scott, any final message? That's something that we missed in the conversation.
No, but I had a ball, and I hope you have me back. Because I want another pair of these
Right?
glasses.
You can have it online, wchilishades.com, so you can have yours too.
Awesome.
Thank you for making the time to be with me tonight. And thank you everyone for watching us till the end. Shout out to EcoFlow to set up all this beautiful setup for today to receive Scott in this podcast. Shout out to Filota Kitchen, who also we use the space to record. So see you on the next one.
Bye now.